Hello, welcome back once again to CBSE Board Economics. I'm Saddam Hussain. Today we will be talking about circular flow of income in an economy. We all know that income keeps on moving from one sector to the other sector. You're quite familiar that whatever the money we receive, it keeps on floating in the economy. You earn money, it won't remain in your pocket, in your wallet forever. You go to buy goods from a shopkeeper and the money goes to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper won't keep it for a long time with him. He has to give it to the wholesaler from where he purchased it. The wholesaler will give it to the producer. So this is just an example how the money flows in a circular manner. Money always keep on flowing in the economy in a circular manner from one sector to the other sector. There are 5 sectors in the economy. One is a household. We'll be discussing about them in detail. Number 2 is the firms or enterprises. Number 3, the government. Number 4, we have rest of the world, and number 5 is the capital market. So I repeat, there are 5 broadly in the economy. We divide all the sectors into 5 categories. Number 1 is the households. Number 2, the firms. Number 3, the general government. Number 4, maybe the capital market, banks and all financial institutions come here. And the last sector is rest of the world. We call it as exports, imports, rest of the world sector, 5 sectors. But here in this video, in this topic, in this episode, we are restricting the circular flow of income for a 2-sector economy. Maybe we call it as a closed economy because that is what exactly you have in your syllabus. We're not discussing about the capital market. We're not discussing about the government. We're not discussing about rest of the world, exports, imports of the country. That will become too long a video, too long a topic. Some other day we'll discuss it. So since in your syllabus, only 2 sectors are given, households and the firms. So we are restricting today only for 2 sectors, household and the firms. Before I explain the circular flow of income in 2-sector economy, let me give you a brief idea. In the economy, there are 4 factors of production. We call them 4 factors of production. Only these factors earn money in the economy. Which are these 4 factors of production? I'm sure you're quite familiar with this. Number 1 is the households. No, I'm not talking about the 4 sectors of the economy. We are discussing about these 2 sectors, households and the firm, which are the 4 factors of production which actually help in doing any kind of production. Which are these? Number 1 is land. Number 2 is the labor. Number 3 is capital, and number 4 is the entrepreneur. There are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship, or we call them as enterprise. These 4 factors help in doing the production in the economy. So for example, without land, without a factory building, you won't be able to produce anything. Without land, you can't cultivate anything. So to do agriculture, you need land. To produce something, you need a building, factory building. To run a school or college or the university, you need a building, structures. That's land. Number 2, labor. Without labor, we just can't do anything. In the factories, you find laborers. In offices also, you have office staff. Okay, they also come under labor in economics. And without this, you can't, any factory, any business, agriculture, you just can't do anything. Land, labor, capital. Capital is Infrastructure in economics, the money which you put it in the bank, that will be converted in terms of capital. So they borrow the money, the entrepreneurs or the businessmen, and invest it, then it becomes a capital. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the person who organizes all the four factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and runs a business and enterprise. He takes the risks. For example, we take an example of any company, Hyundai. They manufacture cars. The person who is running the company, Hyundai, he is the entrepreneur. So he organized land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and he runs the car production, and he produces Hyundai cars with the help of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So he has to pay to these four factors of production. Land, he has to pay rent. Labor, he has to pay wages and salaries. Capital, he borrowed the money from the bank, he has to pay interest to the capital. And himself as an entrepreneur, for taking the risks in business, he will get profits. So the four factors of production are paid in terms of money. Land will get rent, labor will get wages and salaries, capital will get interest, and entrepreneur, he himself earns profits. So this is the income which these four factors of production earn. And of course, we will be explaining you with the help of a diagram here, with the help of picture. So what exactly these four factors, when they earn the money, what do they do? How does the circular flow of income takes place in these two sector economy? Let's go ahead and explain with the help of a flow chart, or you call it. Okay, we'll see the circular flow of income with the help of a diagram to understand completely. If this question comes in your question paper, do make this diagram. It becomes easier for the examiner as well as for you to explain. As I said, there are four factors of production. One is land, one is labor, one is capital, and entrepreneur. There are four factors of production. Without this, you just can't do any production. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. These we call in economics as four factors of production. I already told you, when you engage these four factors of production, you have to pay them. That we call it as factor payments. Which are the factor payments? You have to pay to land, rent, you have to pay to labor, wages and salaries, and you have to pay to the capital interest, and of course entrepreneur will get profits. So land will get rent, labor will get wages and salaries, interest to the capital, and profits to the entrepreneur. This we call it as four factors of production and factor payments to them. When we make the payments to them, we call them as factor payments. When these four factors of production receive, this we call it as factor incomes for them. It's the same thing, factor payments or factor incomes. To make you understand, when these four factors of production provide their factored services, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, we call it as real flow in the economy. Real flow. Real in economics is in terms of goods and services. For example, when a firm engages, I told you Hyundai example, the car manufacturer Hyundai, he may be engaging the services of land, services of labor, services of capital, entrepreneurship. That we call it as real flow taking place from households to the firms. Households provide, because households are the owners of these four factors of production. Real flow from households to firms. With the help of these four factors of production, the firm produces goods and services. With the help of these four factors of production, the firm produces goods and services and sells them in the market. Like Hyundai firm produced cars and sold it in the market, and they get money. And this money which Hyundai car manufacturer got, they have to distribute to the four factors of production. because they worked in the firm. They have to be remunerated. They pay rent to land, wages and salaries to labor, interest to the capital, and profits to the entrepreneurship. So this we call it as factor payments or factor incomes. When the firm pays to these four factors of production, we call it as money flow. That means money flow is taking place from firms to the households. Real flow is taking place from households to the firms. Money flow is taking place from firms to the households. It means every real flow has an opposite money flow. Every real flow has an opposite money flow. Okay, this is the first part of it. What is money flow? Money flow is in terms of money. It can be wages and salaries, it can be rent, it can be interest, it can be profits. This first part is over. In the second part, when the households receive this money in terms of wages and salaries, rent, interest and profits, what do? They go to the market to buy goods and services produced by the firms. They spend that money in the market to buy goods and services from the firms. They give this money to the firms again. So here, money flow is taking place from households to the firms, from households to the firms. In return of this we call it as consumption expenditure in the economy. Households are doing the consumption expenditure. In return, the firms give them goods and services. The firm goods and services, we call it as real flow taking place from firms to the households. Money flow is taking place from households to the firms. Real flow is taking place from firms to the households. So here, every money flow has a opposite real flow. Every real flow has an opposite money flow. Every money flow has an opposite real flow. That means there are two real flows and two money flows taking place in a two-sector economy. Since the money is flowing in the economy in a circular manner from households to the firms, from firms to the households, we call it as circular flow. It is flowing in a circular manner all the time. That's why it is called circular flow. In case you get one line answer, what is real flow in economics? Real flow is in terms of goods and services. For example, households provide land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. That means real flow is taking place from households to the firms. Or firms provide goods and services to the firms. Here, real flow is taking place from firms to the households. In case they ask you, what exactly is money flow? Money flow is flow of money in terms of wages and salaries, rent, interest, profits. Money flow takes place from firms to the households, and also money flow takes place from households to the firms. Since it is a pictorial picture or diagram showing the circular flow of income from one sector to the other sector, we call it as circular flow of income. Now look at this board interactive panel, you understand better. So I'll go off the picture, but you hear my voice. See, you can see there circular flow of income. You can see there are two boxes, one is a household and one is a firms. I told you households are the owners of four factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Look at the first picture here on the top. Households provide factor services to the firms. So look at the arrows. Factor services are flowing from the households, which are these. You can see here land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. This is, we call it as real flow. That means real flow is taking place from households to the firms. With the help of these, I told you, the firms produce goods and services and make money. The firms give to these four factors of production factor payments. What are these factor payments? You can see rent, wages and salaries, interest and profits. So money flow is taking place here from firms to the households. That means every real flow has an opposite money flow in the top picture. Look at the bottom now. Households take this money which they got it from firms, they go to the market and buy goods and services from the firms again. So here this is consumption expenditure is taking place. You can say money flow from households to the firms. See the arrows. In returns, the firm gives them goods and services. So you can see it very clear in this picture. There are two real flows. One is the top, one is in the below, and two money flows, two real flows flowing in opposite direction all the time in the economy. This is known as circular flow of income. So this is a very important, whichever examination you are giving, whether you are giving state board examination, you are giving CBSE board examination, you are giving any competitive exam, this is a very important topic. They can ask you what is a real flow, they can ask you what is money flow, they can ask you what exactly is circular flow of income. Explain it in a two-sector economy. They won't ask you all the 5 sectors, it becomes too lengthy, so that you will be having when you go for undergraduation or post-graduation level in economics. So here it is restricted to only 2 sectors. Now I'll be reading out the same thing. So you have notes appearing on the board again. I'll read out, carefully watch it out, and you can take the screenshot if you want, or you jot it down in your notebook and learn it. It becomes easier. Or listen to this video again and again. I'm sure you learn it. It's not difficult. So just wait for the notes appearing on the board. Yeah, once again, or you won't find me in the picture, but you can hear my voice. I'll read out. Circular flow of income. Explain the circular flow of income in two-sector economy. All economic activities are interrelated. A pictorial illustration of this interdependence between the major sectors of economic activity is called circular flow of income and product. Goods and services flow in one direction and money flows in the opposite direction. It causes a circular flow. So, the output or product, we call it, flows from the producer or seller to the consumer, that is the buyer. It is called real flow. Money flows from the consumer, buyer, to the seller. This is called money flow. Here we make the following assumption. So please see here we make the following assumption. Number 1, what assumption we are making here? I told you that we are discussing only about two-sector economy. The only 2 sectors in the economy, households and firms. Number 2, households are the owners of the 4 factors of production. That's land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. They provide factor services to the firms. Number 3, firms hire factor services from households and in return pay rent to land, wages and salaries to labor, interest to the capital, and profits to the entrepreneur. Number 4, households spend their income on consumption. They don't save or pay taxes, export or import. Why? Because we're taking into consideration only two-sector economy. Firms sell, I'll take it up, firms sell all the, you can see it here. Firms sell all that is produced to households. There is no government sector or rest of the world, that is foreign trade. In this type of economy, there are only 2 types of markets. One is a market for goods and services, that you find it in the real market where you go to buy goods and services, that we call it as product market. And the second one, I'll just show you the picture, just hang on. I'm sure you'll be able to read this. So now you can see in this picture, number 3, market for factors of production. One is the product market, one is the factor market, where you hire the 4 factors of production. Look at this diagram here. One is the households on your left side, on your right hand side you have firms sector. You can see first factor services, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship is flowing from households to firms. This I told you we call it as real flow. In return, the firms are giving them factor payments, rent, wages and salaries, interest and profits. This we call it as money flow. This side of the picture we call it as factor market. That is the market for the 4 factors of production. You see below, households spend that money as consumption expenditure. That means flow is taking place from households to the firms. In return, the firms give them goods and services, here product market. So the household sector owns, look at this one, 4 factors of production, that's land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. They provide these factor services to the firms to produce goods and services. This is real flow from households to the firms. In return, firms pay wages and salaries to labor, rent to land, interest to the capital, and profits to the entrepreneur. This is money flow from firms to the households. The households spend this income on buying goods and services from firms. Here again, money flow takes place from households to firms. In return, the firms provide households goods and services. Here real flow takes place from firms to households. So in the circular flow diagram, we can see 2 real flows and 2 money flows. Since the money is flowing in a circular manner from firms to households and from households to firms, it is called circular flow of income or circular flow of product. That's all we have time for today's video. I'm 100% sure you must have followed. If you have not followed it, watch it again and again. I'm sure you'll follow it and make simple notes from these. From these you can copy and as simple as can. So try to put the same in your exams too. Don't try to learn from a textbook with all hard stuff. Try to present as simple as you can. So that's all we have time. Thank you for watching the video. Till we meet next time, it's goodbye from Saddam Hussain. Keep smiling, but don't forget to share, subscribe and like our videos. If you have something in your mind, comment in the comment box. We'll try to reply for that. Goodbye guys. Bye-bye. Take proper care. Best of luck for exams.